Hello, Arlene. Hello, Kat.
Here we are recording our meeting of the Board of Health, December 7th. And we are all here. And I will, here. So let's start as we normally do and approve the minutes of the previous meeting, if you approve of them.
Motion to approve. I reviewed them today. They look great to me.
Yep, seconded.
Anybody not in favor of approving the minutes? Okay. Hearing no objection, we'll assume them approved. This is really complicated. Right with you. Okay, one thing that we normally do at the beginning of the month, which I kind of failed on, is reviewing the progress of the condemnation project at 56 Wendell Road. I forgot about it until this morning, and I sent a text to Greg Steve asking him to report, but he hasn't done it yet. So I suggest that we just put that off until our next meeting. Would that be all right? Any objections?
I don't have an objection, but I guess I'm wondering how long we are all comfortable with granting another month's deferral of some action. This is gone
yeah, go ahead.
So long now.
It has gone on very long, and small bits of progress are being made. I should have asked Greg why he doesn't just plug in his generator and get it over with, and I will ask him that.
But Kat, I would also suggest that it should not be upon you or us to go monthly and request updates from him.
Well, I totally agree with you, Arlene, but that's the only way we can get them.
Then, and that's what prompts my question. If he is, not compliant with at least initiating these updates, then at some point, does there need to be another I don't know, a point of leverage or something where he is called to take responsibility for this?
I'm not exactly sure what that would be. And I don't think that he is not taking responsibility for it. He is trying to move forward on this project. He's been stymied by a number of things in turn, and he is not the most efficient person we've ever met, but he is making what seems to me to be a good faith effort to move forward. And so the only alternative to this that we've heard is, putting it into receivership or something. Right. And that just does not seem, we've all agreed that we don't really want to do that.
And you consider that there is good faith effort?
I do. Okay. I do. I mean, there are many problems and many reasons why things are not progressing, but he is trying.
Okay.
So yeah, but I'm going to put a little more pressure on him to.
You are more in tune, for sure, than I about what efforts he's making. So I will go with your assessment of that. Yeah.
Other comments on this matter? Okay. Is it all right with everybody if we simply defer it until next meeting, and I'll make sure that we get a report, and I will also get an answer to the question of why not just use the generator and provide whatever has to be provided that way.
Yeah, and perhaps, Kat, just to remind him that it's incumbent upon him to come to us every month with a report and not have a reminder necessarily from us.
Yeah, and he should put it on his calendar and
act.
Exactly.
Well, he should. he should. But, you know, if this is what it takes, it's a fairly small thing to send him a text and remind him.
Okay.
A certain amount of human weakness into account. Okay, so we'll just put that off until our next meeting. We should think about, well, if we don't have something we have to do next meeting, I would be happy to cancel it.
I'm sorry, what did you say? If what?
Is that if we don't have anything we have to do at next meeting, I would be happy to cancel it.
I'm going to be on an airplane during next meeting, girl. And I don't. I mean, might have enough of a Wi-Fi connection to attend, but that's a little weird. So.
Right. Okay. Okay. Keep it in mind.
Okay.
All right, we have, and I really dropped the ball on this 70 Cooleyville Road. It somehow just went under the radar. There is a disposal works construction project application out there. According to some emails from Charlie, Alan Weiss went out to do a Title V inspection on this place and was unable to find any system at all. So there is, I think it was Alan. Anyway, there is a disposal works construction permit application that is okay with Charlie, but as it turns out, Concom needs to review it because there's a stream or something running through it. They want to do a review. So, I mean, I've already held this guy up long enough. What I would like to do is vote that once Concom has issued any conditions that it might issue, having received the fees and Charlie's okay and whatnot, that I could go ahead and issue the permit as soon as all those requirements are met.
Mm-hmm.
So moved.
Second.
I just have a question. How is it that Engineer Weiss couldn't find a system?
Right.
Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I think the place is older and I'm not really sure. And, you know, one of those things that maybe you don't want to find out.
Yeah.
But, okay. We don't have any files on the property?
We don't have anything useful. I did find some files, but it wasn't even clear if the file was for that property or the neighboring property. And apparently it was, yes, all completely confused. But anyway, you know, on the ground, they didn't find anything.
And this gentleman is simply trying to put a system in now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But presumably it's a repair, right? Or
it's considered a repair. Yeah. But, you know, a repair is just a replacement. So really, there was really no difference. Technically.
It's a little weird to think that they might go to do like a repair on a system that hasn't been found. And so that sounds like new construction or, you know, installation of a new system. And if they go to install something new and hit the old system, but then like, how can Charlie even approve the new plan if he's not sure that it doesn't encroach upon the old plan, the old system? You know what I'm saying?
I guess he's taking he's making the assumption that if an engineer didn't find it, it's not there.
Where,
wow.
And it has indoor plumbing though?
I assume it does. I mean, I don't really know anything about the place, if it's been vacant for a long time. Let me see if I can spot anything about it here.
Which side of the road is it on? Is it on the paved part?
I'll tell you that in a minute. Oh, for heaven's sake, where is that? It is on the paved part, and it's it looks like it's about halfway down the hill, and it's a couple of long, thin, very large parcels. And let me see if we get an idea how big it is. Hard to read these cards. Okay, it says that there is a building.
Do you have a screen you want to share with us, or?
If you want to read the assessor's card, I guess I could.
Never, if it's that weird.
Right. Yeah, that's all I'm looking at. I'm just trying to see the part where it says how big it is.
I thought you had a plot plan. Sorry. Okay.
No, I don't have a plot plan on here.
Pat, I made you co-host just in case you want to share something.
Well, in any case, it's a big. It looks like a quite big lot. And there is a house on it. It was sold last in 1995, and the people who own it have an address in Amherst. So I'm not sure. Okay, one of the parcels is in 61B, and it's like 24 acres. And then there's some more acreage too. So we're talking about a big parcel, right? For what it's worth.
I see. Maybe that's a part of the explanation about why they could not find an old system.
Well, it should be near the house, right? I mean, they wouldn't want to pipe it up.
Yeah. You would think.
Right? Yeah. Right. We'll just have to hope that they find it, or that they don't find it, I guess.
Right, exactly.
While they're inspecting. But if it's okay with you, I will go ahead and issue that as soon as it is proper to do it without waiting for a meeting. And I hope it'll be, in between.
Okay.
All right. Let's skip for the moment over green burial, because I want to kind of get some things out of the way. At the bottom of the agenda, in the unanticipated business, they've discovered one of these little wooden bridges in the Southbrook Conservation Area. And it's in very bad shape. And they're afraid that in the wintertime, some snowmobile is going to go over and it's going to collapse. So it's under the jurisdiction of Conservation Commission, and they want to repair it. But apparently, I've never heard of this before, but Miriam keeps invoking it. There is some rule that they can't really initiate they can't give an emergency certification for action to happen in a area over which they have jurisdiction unless they get an order from some other entity. And she's asked the Board of Health or the emergency management director, basically, to order that this bridge be repaired so that they can move forward on that. And Lenny has not, I don't think he's responded. So I said that we would do it, and I drafted an order telling them to repair this quickly and to post it as dangerous in some way until it's repaired. Now, to be honest, I think we're on a little bit on thin ice here. I don't really think that we have that kind of authority.
And I would also say this is a new category of requests coming from CONCOM to us since a change in the leadership of CONCOM. And I would hope that we could get, because these requests for orders are new requests, and they're very non-specific, needing an order from some other body. I would like to know if we can somehow get some clarification on Concom's need for orders and from what bodies.
Yeah, that would be good. I'm sure we could get
It's
that.
very vague and weird that they need an order from some other unspecified body.
It does seem weird. I don't really get it. And we
and
should
if
get
the situations continue to be ones that feel like they're at best borderline under our purview, then it makes me uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah.
And we've, in so many years, we've never been asked for this before. So is this a matter of, lack of information of the new chair? I don't mean to impugn her on this, but, like, why is this happening all of a sudden? And what
Right.
what are the specifics of the
Yeah, I would like to see the regulation under which this is required. Because it does feel strange.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Ask a question because I walk across that bridge almost daily. And I'm wondering if it's for the safety of snowmobilers, is it possible for the snowmobile organization, you think, to underwrite the cost of the repair?
I believe they have agreed to do that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Or to either underwrite it or just do it. I'm not sure. But
I know they replaced the boards across the bridge, but now I'm sure they're talking about the supports underneath the boards.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, I was looking around and what is it, chapter 111 today, and there's lots about the Board of Health ordering repairs to things or fixes for things that affect public health. But I haven't really seen anything about public safety.
Maybe the chair of Concom can provide us the source from which they are, the information from which they are concluding that they need to come to us. Like
yes.
What?
Give us the exact reg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we should have that. In the meantime, in a kind of just pragmatic way, they want somebody to tell them to do this, and there's no reason really why we shouldn't tell them to do it. And since they're asking us to tell them to do it, we're not going to get in trouble with them for telling them to do it. So it seems like it would be expedient for us to just tell them to do it.
Okay.
I mean, could it also come from public safety? I mean, could the police chief deem it?
Possibly. I'll talk with her about that and see if she's willing to do that kind of thing. Yeah, the whole thing is just very weird. And now, at one time, we had another request, and it was about tearing a deck off a house. And Charlie went and looked at it, and I think he wrote an order saying that it had to be removed. And that was clearly not a public health thing. It was a public safety thing.
But I would guess it was within his purview around housing code.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah, even though the house was not occupied. Yeah. Okay, well, if it's all right with you, I will go ahead and tell Miriam that the Board of Health wants the bridge repaired. Okay, but I will also ask her to show us the justification for asking the Board of Health to do this.
Right.
find out if there's some other way.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
I'd like to know under what statute or whatever we are acting.
Right.
Body.
Let me make a note of that. Okay. Okay. Working backwards up the agenda, the Public Health Excellence Grant surveys. Oh my God. We got through the first one and we got through the second one. And now the third one, the big monster one, is due on Friday. And because of the way things are structured, it is for the whole district. It's not for the 3 towns of the district. It's not like we just have to do one for Shutesbury. And the focus of this third survey is to provide documentation. So in the first part, in phase 1, we said, yes, we can do this, and yes, we do that, and we've got it all covered. And now they're basically saying, prove it by sending us all these documents. So they kind of pick documents of various kinds from various places, but a lot of them, a real lot of them, and just an unconscionable number of documents they're demanding. And I found out that, I put in, there was one thing that I could provide from Shutesbury, and I put it in there. Claudia had her name and her contact information and so on in there. But, she hasn't done anything else, not anything at all. And when I asked her about it, she was kind of all vague. So I said, look, here's an idea. Let's get Kathy Konecki to find the documents and either upload them or send them to us to be uploaded, because Kathy does that. She's actually paid by the district to find documents, because Charlie has all the district files in the cellar there. And so that seemed to be underway. And then today I got some documents from Kathy that were the completely wrong ones, because the email that Claudia had sent her was just completely wrong. It was just wrong. So, but I'm determined to make this thing happen. So I've talked with Charlie and Kathy, and I've just copied out the questions, the requests for documentation that we need to answer and that they should be able to answer with their district files. And I've sent that to them, and then they're going to spend tomorrow basically finding them. And I think they're going to send them to me to be uploaded. So I think we might be able to do it at least partially. But I really kind of feel like it's not my job. I mean, there's Claudia, who's supposed to be doing it, and there's me, and there's whoever are the chairs of the boards of health in Irving and Northfield. And nobody is stepping up to the plate here. And I'm pretty annoyed about it. And what I'm hearing is that chairs of boards of health and health departments and whatnot are pretty angry about the volume of documentation that we're being asked to provide. And it's really, I don't know if it's more because we're a district than it would be for a single municipality, or if there's some kind of formula, but it's a lot. It's a real lot. But Kathy is really good at getting those files. So I'm hoping that we can at least take a stab at it, even if we can't do it completely. Charlie said he thought they could get most of it. So there it is.
I'm sorry you have been saddled with that, Kat.
I wasn't really expecting it, and I was pretty disappointed in Claudia in just really dropping the ball on this.
Well, it just proves what we've all known all along, that you're the closest we have to public health excellence.
Well, thank you, Wim. But I have to tell you, if I'm the closest you have to public health excellence, you are in trouble. But thank you for that vote of confidence. I appreciate that. Anyway, we'll see.
Kat, you can answer this another time, but I'm not sure why we're tied to the district too. That's kind of confusing to me, but I guess just because Claudia serves as the health agent to other towns in the district.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been great if it had been just Shutesbury, because it would have been easy to do. But
exactly.
most of it is not Shutesbury.
Yeah. Okay.
Have that much stuff.
That makes sense. Okay, I'll get more. We're meeting tomorrow at 8:30, the steering committee. So I'll get more information and see if other towns have had trouble with the same thing. I suspect some of them may have.
I think most of them have. Yeah, people are not. People aren't taking this well.
How hard is the deadline?
It's pretty hard. I guess they already extended it to December 9th from November 14th. And this time they say they really mean it. So I'm assuming that means like close of business on Friday. So if Charlie and Kathy can really pull this together, we can make it happen. And I have to sit around at home tomorrow afternoon and wait for a delivery. So I'll have plenty of time to sit around uploading things.
Jeez. Is there any way that that I could help? There's no.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you, but I don't think so. All right, and then about the district, I asked Brian Smith, who's I guess he's something like the town administrator of Irving, and he's kind of shepherding us through this reorganization of the district. And we're getting really close to it, which is good, because if we can get it started by January 1st, then Claudia will start to have benefits. Finally, she's been working for us since 2018. So they said at the meeting, we've already had 2 meetings on this. Usually we have like 1 meeting a year. We've already had 2 or 3 just in the past month. We've got another one on the 19th. They said it would be useful if the boards of health would vote to recommend to their select boards that they sign a memorandum of agreement, a sort of intermunicipal agreement among the 3 towns to just change the way things are done, so that the district becomes in some way a subset of the town of Irving, and Claudia becomes an employee of the town of Irving, and then the other towns are basically billed for the services that Claudia provides to us. It'll be pretty much the same as what we have, except that if we're going to be paying in liability insurance and health insurance and so on, our assessment is certain to go up, but it won't really change anything material about how we do things. I asked Brian to give me some language, but he didn't respond in time, or he didn't respond at all. So what I would entertain from the board a motion to recommend that the select board enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the towns of Northfield and Irving to provide shared health agent services starting at the beginning of 2023. Do I hear such a motion?
This is Noreen, so moved.
Second, this is Arlene.
All in favor?
So just a quick question though, Kat.
Oh, I'm sorry, we should have had discussion.
So related to the language, this isn't a new agreement, but it's a continuation and revised agreement, correct?
It's a little bit more complicated than that. It's a new agreement that allows us to continue with the existing arrangement, but in a form that allows us to provide benefits to Claudia. Right. I'll have to get some specific language from Brian before we actually do this, but basically what I'm asking for is agreement in principle that we should tell the select board we want this to happen.
I don't have an objection to it. I just thought it would be helpful context for the select board, given that some of the others are newer. So.
Yeah, I'll get some language and some explanatory language from Brian and make some kind of a recommendation letter that explains it to them, as well as just asking them to sign it.
And Kat, it seems to me another point was this actually allows Claudia to become an employee of Irving.
Yes.
So I think that's a key point that needs to be in there. She becomes an employee, and then we are subcontracting for her piece of services as an employee of Irving.
Effectively, yes. And it could have gone to any town. Any one of the three towns could have taken her on, but Irving volunteered, and they have a fairly large structure of employees and stuff.
Yeah,
bigger than we have. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion then?
Win, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Arlene, yes.
Noreen, yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I will put together something appropriate, expressing our feelings on this.
Thanks.
All right. So we've got two things regarding green burial on the agenda. One of them is I've made some preliminary notes on a regulation which I have circulated to you, and I understand that Garrett has made some notes to moving that regulation process forward. We also have, and maybe we should get this first, I wrote 1961 here, but that's not right. That was just the name of a file. In apparently 1979, Elmer Huntley, engineer, performed 8 perk tests on the JCA property. And they were all, it is 8, right, Garrett? You've seen that.
I think it was a total of 9, and I don't know that I'd characterize it as a perk test.
Oh, right. It was a deep hole up. They were deep hole observations. They used, let's see. Where do I have?
I think maybe soil test pits or.
Yeah, whatever they were 8-foot holes in which they looked at soil structure, and they looked for groundwater. And the test pits were pretty evenly distributed throughout the 2-acre parcel, and not one of them found any groundwater as deep as 8 feet. Now, I don't know if you, Garrett, if you want to show those.
Kat, I think what I'd like to do, especially in the interest of Chris and Lisa who have joined the meeting, is to share the document, share my screen to show the document. And then I think my read of the document is that it likely addressed the standards that were relevant in 1979 related to conventional burial. But given the full change in use from conventional to green burial at the site, my read of the document, that the 1979 document, is that it only addresses a few of the standards that are relevant to the current standards related to green burial. So
why don't you show us the document?
Yep. So I'll start with that, and then I'll show you where I think it aligns with the current standards for green burial and where I think it does not. All right. Do you see June 12th, 1979?
Right.
Okay, so related to the pits that were dug at the site, so there was a total of 9. They were considered to be deep test holes. I believe that they went 8 feet deep. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Actually, it says 9 here in the text, but the
depth of 9 feet. Yep.
Right, but the picture, the schematics seem to show 8 feet.
Yeah. And so this is just a description of what was conducted at the site, and that ultimately town meeting at the time approved this location based on the information provided at the time to become a cemetery. This is the topography map showing the cemetery site. The abutting properties are all kind of within that similar elevation level, higher elevations to this grade, lower elevations to this grade. It's kind of hard to read, but I think that this says we're at 1,050 in terms of elevation at this point. I'm not sure what it is at this line. Further down here, we're at 1167 along West Pelham Road. These are the various, the dots here represent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 deep pits that were dug. And Chris and Lisa, I think that these two represent the closest, number 3 and number 4 represent the closest to your property. And then this is the evaluation of each of those sites. So OTS, I think, relates to topsoil.
Organic.
Yep. And then red sand, fine gray sand. In the case of numbers 3 and 4, which are the closest to Chris and Lisa's property, 6 inches organic topsoil, red sand at that level. And then to your point, Kat, this says 8 feet and the above document says 9. In all of the locations where they did digging, there was no groundwater found at those either 8 to 9 feet levels, depending on how we want to read the document. At 4, they did find some cobbles that were possibly dumped at that location.
Which meant it would have been dug there before.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Prior to it being a cemetery.
Right.
And then I think the remainder of the document just really focuses on those, on the total 9 sites that were dug. So now, I'll pause there if there are questions about this before I go on to kind of show where I think this document addresses the current standards related to green burial and where I think it doesn't.
Garrett, I just have one question. It's Noreen. Do we assume that 8 feet was the standard for doing this type of soil assessment at the time? And do we know if that is still a standard?
My assumption would be that what is presented in this report was the standard in 1979 for conventional burial in terms of citing a new cemetery for conventional burial. I don't know what the exact standards were at that point in time. We have to really go back and dig, I think, figure that out. So when I've been looking at this based on the research I've been doing on the side around what DEP says and what model practice elsewhere says, I'm looking at this from the lens of saying, how does this meet current standard related to green burial and how doesn't it? I don't know if that answers your question or not.
So
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't know what the standards were time for citing conventional burial cemeteries.
So what have you seen is lacking in this soil analysis?
All right, let me get to. I always feel like this should be easier. All right, so this document is what Kat circulated to the board related to any new regulation that we would put forth related to citing new green burial sites.
Right, and I remind you that these are just preliminary notes to get us started.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was in several of the sections, I went through and said, all right, well, what are the setback recommendations that DEP has made to local boards of health? And you'll remember that I circulated to the board a model practice research that came out of Baltimore County as they were considering green burial regulations. So they did some very in-depth research into green burial and practices both nationally and internationally. And their report was published by the National Association of County and City Health Officials. And so as it relates to the 1979 report, so these are setback recommendations. That doesn't really speak to the 79 report, but as it relates to minimal standards, one of the things that would normally be identified in the soil sampling from the DEP perspective is that the bottom of the grave should maintain at least a 3-foot separation distance from naturally occurring soil above what is the estimated seasonal high groundwater level. So the 1979 report looked at whether or not they detected groundwater at 8 or 9 feet, but did not do an estimated seasonal high groundwater level.
That may be so, Garrett, but I would want somebody who knows more about this than we do to look at it, because I would have expected that to be noted on this kind of a soil analysis if it were found. And it may be that it wasn't found. It can be seen by soil modeling on the the sides of the hole, and there's no indication of soil modeling in the soil log. So I would like to have some engineer or soil scientist look at this and give us an interpretation of that.
Also, the next bullet with the depth of covering the grave, if that only has to be 3 feet, then you have another 5 feet under, well, less because there's the body, but probably 4 feet under it to the bottom of that test hole they did dig.
Yes, and actually, so this item here would not be something that we would get from the 79 report or any modern report that we would request in a permitting process, I don't think. But this item especially around estimated seasonal high groundwater level,
Mm-hmm.
I think would be something that would be generated by a hydrologist who does this type of work and would be contracted to make that determination. This one is related to other minimum standards, but is something that I think would be found in that report that we would ask any future applicant, and is not addressed in the 79 report. And again, this is a DEP standard. The other things that are, so the 79 report does not show burial plots, and especially green burial plots, in relation to property boundaries.
Right. No, I'm not suggesting that the submission of this thing was some kind of application, merely that it was more information for us to have about what kind of soil testing has already been done on the property.
No, and I guess my point in this exercise is just to highlight what I think we can conclude from the 1979 report as it relates to green burial, and what I think we can't. So really I think there are two areas where I think the 79 report shows a soil profile of a depth of at least 4 feet. It actually exceeds that. So DEP guidelines says the soil profile should be at least 4 feet deep. And they do 8, at least on that graph or on the picture, and to show the soil variability. So there's really only 2 standards as it relates to green burial that I think it meets.
And those are estimated seasonal high groundwater and
no, the 2 it meets is the soil profile.
Oh, that it meets, right.
Right. That is soil profile and soil variability. And then there's 8 or 9 it doesn't, based on the DEP.
Well, okay, so let's look at these. Obviously,
well, one was right from the start was boundaries, and is that resolved now? Did they ever do the survey?
I don't, as far as I know, they haven't done it yet because they haven't submitted it to us.
All right.
Nor is there anything about abutting wells, wells within an X
setback for this one that
so this one I'm highlighting now. So it doesn't delineate setbacks from any of these.
Right. Okay, sorry. Yep.
Right, and that's what we hope will be on the survey, right? Okay. It's not meant to be on the soil test.
It does, in this next bullet, it meets soil profile. It meets these 2 items: soil profile to a depth of 4 feet and soil variability, but it doesn't estimate seasonal high groundwater levels depth.
We think.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Now, if they've gone down 8 feet and they haven't got to bedrock, I mean, we don't expect them to dig until they get to bedrock. Right. I mean, if you're going to have a soil profile of 4 feet, if you don't hit bedrock in that space, I don't think that you're expected to just keep digging until you get it.
I agree.
I don't disagree with that, but I can't conclude that from that drawing.
Well, if they were bedrock, it would be indicated in the soil profile that we have.
I would just need more information about it. I don't.
It's interesting that they chose 4 feet where earlier they say 3 feet above and 3 feet below, which is 6 feet.
So it's 3 feet of separation. between the naturally occurring soil, 3 feet of separation of naturally occurring soil above the seasonal high.
Right, that always gets complicated. It's the same with the septic systems.
This one, I think we can easily address on our own through local emergency management. I doubt that that area is in 100 to 500 year flood zone, but local emergency management would have that information. I don't know that there's that extreme of a slope. I mean, it's
fairly level.
It's pretty level.
Yeah.
And then this would come into play around new siting.
Around what? I'm sorry?
Around new siting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing about the slope and the FEMA velocity zone and so on. Right? These aren't going to really be. But yeah, for new siting, we should. Yeah, I agree that we would take all of these into account for our reg.
Yep. These more so.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are fair considerations and something that we should ask of the JCA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if the 1979 report gives us this information, especially this bullet, this information, I don't know. I don't know what the technology was for doing that type of survey in 79 compared to today.
It was pretty much the same. You dig a hole and you look at the size of the soil particles and the color of the soil and indications that there have been water there. And you also compare it to the maps. There are detailed maps from what used to be called the Soil Conservation Service, now the National Resources Conservation Service, I think. And you consult those maps before you start, and then basically you confirm them against your own borings.
The timing of their observation pits was April. You know, so that's a
high groundwater.
Groundwater. Yeah. You know, so that's a good time for doing it.
When we used to have, the Board of Health no longer has, but at one time we had a PERC season for new septic systems, and it was timed for the highest groundwater period, and it was basically the months of March and April. So they're right within that high groundwater season that was once part of our regulations.
So this comparison, Kat, was just mostly to try to wrap my brain around what DEP says versus the various guidance documents that I've been able to pull together. So I'll share this back with you just as examples of things that you should consider related to application requirements or, you know, setback requirements.
Okay. So let me look at the agenda for a second.
Did you get that article I sent from the Times from yesterday?
Oh, about human composting, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking perhaps when we define green burials, we might want to add, since we do have things like home burials, we might just want to be preempt that and add human composting as well.
When you say preempt that, you mean?
Because there are going to be other methodologies that arise as
Oh, right. Well, in our definition section, we can include these various
that's what
methods and define it broadly,
right,
so that they will be part of this this regulation. Good thought. So we have a question from our guest. Will you unmute yourself, please, and go ahead?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, and there was just one other thing that I had found online. It was from the Shutesbury Elementary School. It was early aughts, but so 20 years away from now, but a little bit closer in time. And it was the SWAP, the Source Water Assessment Program for the elementary school. And it does mention it might be something to look at too. There's a lot about it. I'm not sure if they were digging a new well then or just talking about water and water sources, but it does talk about the well and then the whole area. It says based on topography and site observations, and it says geologic, I'm sorry, but you could read it. It says it starts with a 200-foot deep, 6-inch diameter is located southwest of the school. And it does talk about how the conditions here are considered highly vulnerable. Wells drilled in these conditions are considered highly vulnerable to potential contamination from the ground surface because there is no significant hydrogeologic barrier, such as clay. So that's something, you guys, it's under mass.gov and it's called—
Would you send us a link to it?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do it? Yeah.
Send it to me, then I
can
do it.
You want to get that?
Yeah, one other question. We've been trying to get a copy of the initial well completion report for our well.
I don't have it.
Neither does Massachusetts. So I've been on the website, the database, and they don't have it. And I even went and just clicked on every one built around 1980 that had no address. There's a bunch of well completion reports with no address.
They never have addresses if the house hasn't been built yet, because they don't assign addresses until the house is already built. So it makes it really impossible to find this information. Now, in more recent years, we get well completion reports for new wells, but our records for back, a few decades are just terrible. And there just isn't anything that I can do about that.
How could we figure out the depth of the well?
I don't really know, but you could possibly call somebody like a pump expert or a well expert and ask if that can be figured out. I don't know if it's possible. There's a repair guy around here, and I'm sure there's more than one. I just know the one, Mountain Springs, and he might know if how that could be determined.
There's a very knowledgeable guy in Petersham as well, who, I mean, we don't make endorsements, but his name is Travis Zukowski.
And what is his?
He drills wells.
Okay, so he's a driller.
Yeah.
Right.
And
presumably well drillers can find this out because they report the depths when they drill.
Yeah. They can find out.
All right. Is there anything that we need to actually do tonight on this? I mean, we've got some things to think about, but as far as JCA goes, we don't have all the information we've asked for, and so we can't really move forward on that. And Garrett has just made a substantial contribution to moving forward on the well reg or the burial reg, but we need time to all read that carefully and try to integrate it. So I don't know as we need to take any actual action here. Is there any action that anybody thinks we should take? Garrett, you look thoughtful as if you've got something in mind.
I guess I would like to know where JCA is with their process.
I would too. I meant to get in touch with Sam, and I ran out of time on that.
And then if their process is going to follow what so I assume that they're sharing this additional document was more for background or informational purposes. It wasn't meant to be part of their response to our request for additional information, or was it?
They just sent it to us.
Okay.
They didn't say, say what it was.
I think as long as the information that they're generating is intended to address the things that we're looking for in terms of the DEP recommendations, once we get that and we have this other document that we can look at for at least a couple of aspects of the regulations, I just think we need more from them.
Right. Well, we need the survey first. First of all, we need to have the survey, and then we need to look at what information we have and what more information we would like to have, whether that's included in the DEP recommendations or not. Right. And we might not feel the need to have everything that DEP is asking for. And we, on the other hand, we might want more. So here's a question. I had a question and it just completely flew out of my mind, and it had to do with do we need to, I guess my question is, do we need to sort of move in lockstep on these two things, or can we move forward with the regulation independently of what's essentially a petition by GCA? Any thoughts about this?
I sort of see them as separate tracks. I mean, it would be nice if it would be good for JCA if they were done in concert, because if they are clearly not in compliance with regulations that we promulgate, then they're stepping back again. But I think we're going to come up with a set of rules, and they're just going to have to comply. So I think the rules can be drawn first, right?
Yeah. I mean, that seems reasonable to me, especially since they are not moving with any great speed.
Right. I mean, we could keep them informed of where we stand and encourage them strongly to comply with our request.
I know that when we asked them to get the survey, they immediately contacted the surveyor and I think engaged him. And the last I knew, they were trying to get permissions from the abutters. And I don't know how successful they have been in that. I know that Chris and Lisa reached out to abutters. I did too. I actually got permission from one of the people across the street, but I don't know where they are with that. And that is one thing that has slowed this down. That I think that the letter that they sent out was so vague that I think people did not pay too much attention to it. So I gave more information when I reached out.
And on our end, the regulations, my understanding from what you've said in the past, Kat, is they will have to go through the town attorney, right? And the select board, is that true?
I'm sorry, I'm not following you. Who will have to?
The rules that we eventually write up.
Oh, our regulation.
Yeah.
We pass that regulation. Nobody else passes it. Nobody else votes on it. In fact, we can do it without even having a public hearing, but I don't think that we should do that. I think we should have a public hearing. We should have town council review it and make sure that it is legal. And but that's all. The select board does not get a vote.
Okay, so just the attorney.
Right. It's just basically we get a review, and then I think this works the same. If a town adopts a bylaw, it has to be reviewed by the Attorney General's office to make sure that it meets the legal requirements. And that might happen with our regulation too, but I don't really know that. Garrett, do you know that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it reaches that level. Because it would likely be consistent with DEP. And so I don't know that it would have to go to that level, but we'd have to ask Donna.
So I suggest that what we do in the coming days is review all the things that Garrett has given us and see how we can start bringing more of these things into our regulation. I can't think of any other thing that we can do between now and then.
Just real quick.
Oh yeah, and then I just emailed the swap thing to Board of Health. Is that the right? Just the general?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Lisa, are you saying swap estimate?
Swap. Yeah, it's the Shutesbury water. 1 second.
Yeah.
Source water assessment program. It's mass.gov.
Yeah.
It was early aughts.
This should have arrived by now.
Okay, yeah, here it is. I will distribute it to the rest of the board. Thank you. Is there anything else that needs to come before us tonight? Wim, are you waving?
No, I was waving goodbye to.
Oh, I see. All right. Anything else? Noreen, do you have anything to tell us? Arlene?
No.
Only that I may need to miss next week, or not next week, but 2 weeks from now meeting.
Right, you said you were going to be on a plane.
I'm going to be on a plane. If I'm really needed, I think I will have Wi-Fi on the plane and I could join if needed, but that would be weird.
You know what? If we don't have a quorum without you, we just won't have the meeting. Really.
I won't argue with you.
Right. Yeah.
But if something's urgent and you really need me to chime in, I will see if I can. Okay.
Do you mind my asking where you're going?
Denver.
I figured it would probably be Denver. And you're traveling on.
And I'm also going to be there where I'm staying for 2.5 weeks. So I will be there, I think, for the first meeting of January. But I will be at Susan's house. So I will be fully able to join. And I will try to stay mindful of the time difference.
Right, 2 hours difference. If we need to have a meeting on December 21st, and if we don't have a quorum for that meeting, then we'll just schedule another meeting at a more convenient time.
Okay.
Right, so it won't be when you're in the air.
Thank you. Okay.
Can't imagine we'll have anything that urgent.
All right. But keep me apprised. Okay. And if I don't talk with all of you before Christmas, for those of you who celebrate it. Merry Christmas or other happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
I'm just going to get composted for Christmas.
I see. All right.
Maybe not yet, Wim.
I was going to say.
Send us the details, please. and recover quickly, please, from what's going on. All right.
Yeah, I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Well, happy holidays, everyone. And we'll see each other on the 21st or not.
Do we need a motion to adjourn? Because I so moved.
Let's just freaking adjourn.
Okay.
Good night.
Put that in the minutes.
Excellent.
Freaking adjourn at 8:30.